Good afternoon. We'll now bring the regular afternoon meeting of Township Council to order. And the first item is the adoption and receipt of the agenda items. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Fox, second by Councillor Arneson. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. Next item is the adoption of the minutes, regular afternoon council meeting of April the 10th. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Fox and Councillor Whitmarsh, seconds. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. And a motion to resolve into special closed for the items on the agenda. Okay, and so Councillor Qualley moved it. Councillor Long seconded it. Councillor Long, your item is
property item, please, Your Worship.
Property. Okay, and I also have a property. So Froze and Long each are the property item. Anybody else? So anything on table? No, just the items on the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed and carried. So now we move into special close.
We're off there. You didn't scratch that little red car next to you there, did you? Isn't that cute?
All right, and we'll now reconvene the regular afternoon meeting with Township Council. There are no presentations. There are no delegations. We move to reports to council. The first one is F1. It's the Corporate Energy Management and Climate Action Reserve Fund report. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Qualley, seconder. Councillor Arneson. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on F1. Yep. And that carries unanimously. Move on to F2. And that's the Langley Community Tennis Report. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Fox, second by Councillor Whitmarsh. Any questions, discussion? Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this particular facility, in my opinion, has seemed to become very popular. Not only serving a need in our community, but also I think it's been a very popular addition for the adjacent school. We have a second school being built in that area. And I guess my point is I'm fully in favor of the recommendation of adding 2 years to the original agreement. But I'm wondering about beyond 2 years, because I don't think in our climate that we can have enough. This is, if I'm correct, has 4 courts. Maybe through you, Your Worship, to Mr. Tuamela. Yeah. So any facility, and I mean, we know the bubble's large. We know it takes a lot of room to make 4 tennis courts, because the ball, you have to have a lot of room behind the lines, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just hoping that in the at approximately 6 to 8 months before the end of the next lease, that this can come up for discussion at this table. Again, I'd hate to lose an amenity or a potential amenity that has inherent value and longevity in its structure, just because a new structure is built and just because our agreements run out, because I think this really does serve purpose and need. And they do, the community group running it do a great job.
Okay, is there a question?
No, that's a comment.
Okay.
No, just a comment. Question cleverly disguised as a comment. Yes.
Yes, thank you. So my understanding from reading the report is that in the future it's anticipated that there will be other tennis court structures built in the area. So I just wondered then, given that, is there a current plan of what to do with that existing facility then when it becomes redundant, or is that premature?
Councillor Arneson, through your worship, the existing facility was supposed to have a lifespan of 7 years. It's a canvas cloth construction over a steel frame. At some point, the operator would be required to refurbish that or invest in a new canvas structure to support continued play on that. So at present, we were just looking to go with the first agreement, and that was to recover the tennis courts below for an outdoor. And as part of the Yorkson Community Park plan, we are looking for more permanent structure to be built at that location rather than this location. So we did not anticipate that we would continue that without a further discussion, but we could put that forward before the end of this agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question on F2. And that carries unanimously. Move on to F3, WC Blair Recreation Center Pool Tank Remediation Project. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Fox, seconder. Second, Councillor Arneson and Councillor Richter.
Yeah, I'm concerned about closing this pool for 3 months. And I'm wondering why we have to do the repairs this year. Can we not wait and do the repairs once the new Aldergrove facility is open, so that the people that usually use Blair can continue their swimming programs by going to Aldergrove, which is probably a lot closer for them than Walnut Grove is?
Mr. Seppi has an answer there.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Ardestone is here and he may be able to provide further detail, but just to clarify, this particular report relates to additional work, Your Worship, i.e. the pool tank. There has always been an intent for some pool deck work to be done this year, and instead those works to be of an urgent nature because of the public safety aspect of them. Mr. Ardestone, maybe you can clarify?
Your Worship, the pool deck repair was determined to be a safety issue, hence it was decided to be completed this year.
Okay, but still, I mean, we're taking this pool out of commission for 3 months. That's like a quarter of the year. There's probably a lot of people that would miss having access to that pool for a full quarter year with no other close. So can we not do the retiling some other time, like after the new Aldergrove pool opens?
Raman, perhaps the question is, if the tiles were to be done alone, forgetting everything else, how long would that process take?
That would also take about 2 to 3 months. So the addition of the pool tank work will not increase the closure of the pool by a great amount of time. I think it's a matter of a couple of weeks, if that, because the works could be done concurrently. The pool deck and the pool tank could be done simultaneously.
The only other question is, what would be the implications if we deferred these for a year or two? No, it would be about a year. A year would be sufficient if we deferred them.
Yeah, till next fall when the new pool's open.
As was mentioned, Your Worship, the implications are public safety. The concerns have been identified, so if there was no action to be taken, and should there be an issue, then we're actually accepting the liability and the risks.
Okay, but is it of such a pressing nature that it has to be done now? It can't wait until next year?
Again, based on the qualified professional's advice, Your Worship, the pool tank work, if it's not done this year, it could deteriorate to the degree that the remedial measures could be a lot more costly. And as far as the pool deck is concerned, the safety is a matter of urgency and needs to be addressed immediately.
Okay, but there's no reason why we couldn't defer the pool tank to next year and do the pool deck this year.
That's correct, Your Worship. That could be done, keeping in mind that the cost will likely be a little bit more, as well as the closure period will be significantly more.
So just to clarify, we'd be looking at 2 3-month closures, one this year and one next year, which if we do it all at one time would be maybe an extra week or two of inconvenience this year and no closure next year, other than your normal maintenance week or two that you normally do. So this is a savings of about 3 months closures if we do it now, is what I understand. Is that correct, Mr. Seffi?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Thank you. That answer your question, Councillor Richter? Thank you. Councillor Whitmarsh.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. It's probably on the same lines of the time period. I'm looking in the report that came under the discussion analysis section, and it mentions in there that the shutdown is a 3-month shutdown scheduled starting September 10th to complete the work. And then it says in the next sentence that if the existing planned shutdown would be extended by 6 weeks. Is that meaning that if we do the tank work as well, that the extension is 6 weeks? Because I'm hearing some say it's only a week or two, but the report here says 6 weeks, which means it's actually now into the middle of January, 4 to 4.5 month closure. And so I'm just trying to get an understanding of what that timing actually is.
Yes, Your Worship. If we do the pool tank, it'll take 3 months, the deconstruction and construction of a new tank and the settling time of the concrete and the tiles. So it would be done partially during the time that we complete the pool deck. So it is 5 to 6 weeks additional if we do it this week. If we do it next year, it'll be another 3 months.
Right, okay. So the actual closure, if we do both, is not just 3 months, it's actually 4.5 months.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Davis.
Thanks. When I read the report, I thought, 3 months. Geez, that's a long time for the pool, because my wife, we go up to the Blair all the time instead of the other one. What kind of signage do we do to say that it's like, or we're going to do the normal signage in the paper and whatnot and on the doors, and we're going to give lots of people lots of time to is that going to be a significant, like usually all of a sudden the pool's shut down for 2-3 weeks, everyone kind of accepts that, but because it's so long, can we somehow make a better signage so that they can say, well, it's going to be closed till anticipated? I guess we couldn't we?
Yes, sir, and we have started communicating that through our recreation department.
So we're starting to communicate that already?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, thanks. When I walk around the deck, I don't see anything wrong. Of course, I'm not always looking down when I'm walking, but I mean, do you know roughly what, a layman's, what's wrong with the deck?
So when the deck was originally designed, the slopes on the deck are more than what today's standards are, as well as there is no sanitary drainage on a portion of the pool deck, which is required by code. So the extreme slope causes slippage.
Now you mention it, around this, no, but it does go, because I don't know how I don't know how you guys, when they built it, they put an 8x8 tile in, and then you must have took some sort of a tool and ground all those circles in it. And some circles are not the same, and it kind of looks nice. But so now what you're saying, it's not that it's dangerous, it's just not to standard.
It is also a safety hazard because those round circles were done back in the days to increase friction, but over time they worn out and we can't do it no more.
Can't we just grind a little more?
No.
Yeah. Okay. We have the same problem in our dairy barns, and we just grind a little more so that they get footing. So, yeah. Okay.
The issue also, those are done in the areas you mentioned. There are bigger tiles. When there are smaller tiles, we haven't done that on the pool deck. And the slope in most areas of the pool deck is more than what is allowed by code right now.
Because it goes right into the washrooms and everywhere, like, that safety thing. So, okay, thank you.
Councillor Long?
Yeah, well, I guess I'm agreeing with Council. It's a shame that the timing, is such as it is. And I guess the question I was going to ask, it seems quite obvious that you would want to do the two repairs at the same time. But is there any intermediate repair that could be done to the pool deck so that we could buy time till 2018? I don't know if it can be answered right now, but that would be kind of where we're all heading, right? Is we don't want to compromise safety, but is there something maybe that could be done in the interim to hold over until the new pool is open?
Mr. Seffi, do you have any comment on that?
Your Worship, there could always be some remedial works, but we have to keep in mind the associated costs and also likely closure, although not to the degree of permanent works, but it would likely take, I would guess, about 2 or 3 weeks worth of closure and some significant costs that will essentially be throwaway costs.
Well, we don't know what those numbers are, but I mean, I would, if there is some available time, it'd be nice to have this come back perhaps so we're really clear and supportive of it, because right now what we're saying to the public is there'll be no swimming anywhere for 4 months, maybe 4.5 months between September,
On the Grove.
No, they said 3 months plus another 6 weeks, right? That's what the report says.
Yep. At Blair.
So that sounds to me like 4.5 months. No, I'm saying for Blair, yeah. So, well, is it 4.5 months or is it?
4.5 months.
It's 4.5 months.
It is
So it's
4.5
a
months.
huge
If we
period
do
of
the
time.
pool tank this year.
So if it could be postponed for 4 months with some intermediate work, what would that amount cost, and would staff be comfortable? That's what I'm asking, and I'm not trying to make a decision for staff because we shouldn't be doing that, but that's a question worth asking. Maybe we could come back next meeting with that information.
But from what I understand, just if I could maybe, while we have staff here, just clarify, is that from what I understand, the slope is wrong. So remedial work is really, how do you change that without doing a major upgrade? I don't know how you can do that. Just
Yeah, but it's been wrong since it opened.
I know, but it's been identified now as a risk. So now we're taking on risk, and I just wonder if that's worth going on. I just,
Well,
it sounds like
these are
major.
these are all good
Yeah.
questions, Your Worship.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we have the answer right now, great. But it sounds to me like there's some room to move here. So I'd move that we defer it until next meeting and get some more detail on that, so that council can be very, very confident that we're doing the right thing.
And there's
defend it.
time. There's time for till next
Nothing's
meeting.
going to happen until
Just-
September.
If I may
Yes.
answer, Your Worship, I don't think there is any remedial solutions. We've used a new agent to increase the friction, but legally, if there is a slippage, there's a liability involved.
Do you still wish to move deferral? And then we can debate that if you wish.
There's always a liability.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, the risk has increased. Councillor Long, did you still wish to move the deferral to get more
Well,
information?
I'll move it. I mean, it may not get seconded, but I mean, I think all I'm asking for is clarification on the points that have been brought up. It'll probably come, if it comes back exactly the same, great.
Okay.
But if we have a week to think about that, or 2 weeks, then we can be.
Okay, so I'll take your motion
More
to
forward,
defer,
more
and
with
Councillor
confidence.
Richter is seconded. Just any discussion on the deferral? I'll open up discussion on deferral. And so one question is, if we wait 2 weeks to give a decision, that's not going to impact our process to start construction in the timeline that you had anticipated? You're okay with that?
We can work on it.
Okay, it's going to fit within parameters? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Davis?
I noticed we put up signs, those little yellow signs that says slippery. Can we not, we still should put those up, shouldn't we? Or should we?
Not part of the operation, Your Worship, so I won't be able to comment.
Yeah, no, but they put the little yellow signs up that says slippery,
Yeah.
caution, slippery.
They always do that, yeah.
Yeah, well, not always, but
Okay.
but they're,
They put mats down.
no, now it's a liability thing. We don't want to do that. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I see no further discussion on the deferral. I'll call the question. If you'll come. This is, what is this, F? Sorry, I lost track. F3? Sorry, F3. Yeah, thank you. And it carries with Mayor Farrell's Council Quality opposed. Thank you very much. So that'll be deferred to the next meeting, waiting some further information on remedial works that could be done instead. Thank you. Thank you. Clear the queue. Okay. F3. F4, compensation for overpaid property taxes due to assessment errors by British Columbia Assessment. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Davis, seconder. Councillor Arneson. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question on F4. Carries unanimously. Correspondence, there is about 4 pieces of correspondence, but just a motion to receive all of them at the same time. Councillor Davis, second by Councillor Long. Any question on receipt? I'll call the vote. I'll call it G1. That carries unanimously. There are some actions on just the one. On G1, there's an action item to consider raising the fibromyalgia flag on May 8th. Councillor Qualley moves it. Is there a second? Councillor Arneson, discussion on that action item? Seeing none, I'll call the question on G1. It carries unanimously. And so then we've done all the others. There's no other action, right? Okay. So is there any other business? Oh, we have lots. Councillor Arneson?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, you're...
Actually, it's related to the correspondence. So G2.
Okay, sorry, I'll go back to the correspondence. I didn't realize.
Thank you. So on G2, the Rail Safety Week, I'm wondering, just because we've recently discussed and are waiting for a staff report, whether or not it's possible for us to put something on the township website just to promote the idea for education purposes of Railway Safety Week. So that was something that I thought might be of interest to the township, seeing that we have so many railway crossings and we want to promote public education and safety.
So without proclaiming it as Rail Safety Week, we
Yeah.
can certainly put out some information. Is that doable without motion? Yeah, we're not proclaiming it. We're just... Yeah, there you go.
Anytime is train time, that's right.
Thank you.
On G3, actually, I've had some recent communication with township staff. So I understand that the beautiful Cole Harmony Bridge that we have would be capable of being lit up. And so the color orange is the color for MS awareness. So I'm wondering whether or not we could consider, not for the entire month as being requested for a proclamation, but whether or not we could just do it for one day.
That's a possibility? Okay, so direction. Oh, Councillor Long.
What day are we talking about?
May 1st.
No.
Oh, because of the color orange?
Yeah.
I thought about that. It just happens to be their color.
Do May 24th.
Can't we do it?
A different day after the election? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Any direction on which day?
Just need to know which day then.
Which day is appropriate?
15th of May. Halfway through the month.
All right. What do we have?
Can we then let them know we're going to do that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll send them a letter.
Okay, thank you.
Just need direction? Do you need a motion for that or just a direction? Okay, thank you. Okay, now, so if I have Councillor Richard and Councillor Long on the list, is this to do with the correspondence or other business? Okay, and you're off. Okay, so Councillor Richard, other business.
Okay, 2 items in today's on table. The first is item number 3 on page 9, which deals with this Weir and EBCO plants that are going into Surrey. And I see that staff did give us a report back on the delegation that we had April 10th. But I'm wondering now, is there something more that we could do to make it very clear to Metro Vancouver that we are not in support of this air permit that they're in the position to be able to pass? I think there's so many unanswered questions with regards to the caustic nature of the emissions that will be coming out of this, as well as the potential impact of these emissions on our water supply. I know Councillor Arneson has a motion later on with regards to the water supply, as well as the air quality and the vegetation habitat around this plant. So Brookswood will be significantly impacted. The residents down there are understandably extremely concerned, and I think we need to take a stand. So Metro has the right to issue the permit, but is there anything we could do to stop them from issuing the permit?
Mr. Backen, do you have any comments on that? I believe that's their jurisdiction, and under Metro Vancouver, we give them they're responsible for air quality, not the municipality or Township of Langley. So.
Well, that's correct, Your Worship. I guess there's 2 components. I guess is commenting on another jurisdiction's decisions. Just pointing that out there. That could also be done in reciprocal. From a technical perspective, however, The only jurisdiction beyond Metro Vancouver, I guess, would be the courts. The courts could actually set aside the permit if they deemed the process was inappropriate or inaccurate or contrary to the laws of natural justice and procedural fairness. I've got no information in terms of what we could base that on, but that would be a court, I think, resolution. So that would be the only superior jurisdiction that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, well, I mean, it's their jurisdiction. We've had other issues with air quality permits that they were going to issue. One in recent history anyway, has been the facility up in Fort Langley area, Glen Valley area, and that was stopped. This, I think, is even worse than the Glen Valley one, and how do we get it stopped? Taking Metro to court, I don't think is the answer.
I don't believe the Glen Valley one was stopped because of air quality. It was stopped because of Agricultural Land Commission and zoning. Is that correct, Mr. Backman? That was the composting facility was zoned for agricultural uses, and the Agricultural Land Commission turned it down for those purposes, not for air quality purposes.
Correct. There was an air quality complaint, but the deciding factor was the Land Commission's jurisdiction not to allow it to proceed.
Right. So I don't think we have. I don't believe we have jurisdiction over another body such as Metro Vancouver City. Surrey, they go through their processes, and certainly there, as Mr. Backen pointed out, there are options for those who wish to take it through the courts, but I don't believe Township of Langley would have any weight in this at all.
Okay. Our staff have already sent in their feedback to Metro saying that they have significant concerns. I think that council should add council's voice to staff's concerns and send Metro a letter saying we are very opposed to this permit being issued because there are too many unanswered questions relative to public health and safety. So I'll make that motion that we send a letter stating that.
There's a seconder. Councillor Arneson seconds it. Discussion, Councillor Long.
Have I missed something, Your Worship? Because the memorandum that we're looking at that just came in today's distribution list gives those concerns as a result of the delegations and requesting a meeting, and we haven't heard back. We've only just sent them a request for the meeting on the 21st. So are we just going to now jump ahead and say we're going to do something else? Wouldn't that meeting taking place be the first thing we would do? So I mean, if after the meeting and after addressing all these concerns that still haven't come across, then we could send some further correspondence. But I think we're asking for a meeting. We haven't had a response yet. Isn't that correct? I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Am I missing something?
I believe that's correct, Mr. Backen.
Nope, there's no response received yet.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it's probably only, what date is it today, right? So maybe we should get on the phone and find out when the meeting's going to be. That would be the first thing to do rather than jump ahead with now another letter.
Thank you. Councillor Arneson.
Yes,
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought you were finished.
Move deferral until we make a phone call and get this meeting
We should
going.
just defeat it, but we've already
I'll leave it
the
with
process. Councillor Arneson.
Yes, thank you, Worship. With all due respect to Metro and their processes, the challenge that I have is that through this process, a building has been constructed and a license to continue, save for a permit to do these emissions has already been granted. And so I'm really challenged by the fact also, I have repeatedly requested, I'm sure other councillors have done that, we haven't even seen a dispersal modeling. And so if I go to a public meeting and Metro is trying to explain through the consultants for this proposal what the effects are going to be, and our staff has not even had an opportunity to review the final modeling, I'm very concerned that the degree to which we're going to get substantive information in time for us to address this one way or another. I mean, maybe it is the case that it's too quick a turnaround to ask for Metro to be meeting with us, but my specific feeling is that Metro feels that they have met already the requirement of the law and that the proponent themselves has been asked to give an explanation to the individuals. However, I don't feel that that is really addressing our community concerns. It was held in Surrey, and I feel that it raised more questions than it answered. So I think that we should be more pressing towards Metro. They are the ones that hold the trump card in this because they are the ones that get to give the permit. So I think that we should be more challenging of the degree to which we feel and have to represent to them that our community is very concerned and that we do not, to the degree that we feel comfortable saying that at this point, support this proposition.
You, Councillor Fox.
Yeah, I think this is a bit premature. The bullet point in the letter from Mr. Richardson clearly outlines the fifth one, asking Metro to declare Campbell Heights Business Park a zero emission zone. We haven't heard back on that and what their perception is there. I guess my challenge here is this is being built in Surrey. Yes, we have concerns about our Langley residents, and that's who we represent, so we need to keep that in mind. But we didn't give permission for building permits. We didn't give permission for the industrial park. We didn't give any of that permission. And actually the City of Surrey and the councillors in the City of Surrey have that jurisdiction. Metro Vancouver, actually Mr. Robb, who's, it's a very complex employment arrangement he has with Metro Vancouver. It's actually, he works at arm's length from Metro Vancouver, although Metro Vancouver writes his checks through the arrangement that they have with the federal government anyways, regardless, it doesn't matter, provincial government. I think that this is premature. We've made our points based upon the delegation. I think that we need to wait for a response from Mr. Robb or his staff relative to the situation. There is a sensitivity in the Brookswood-Farnridge area, but with this being in Campbell Heights Business Park and the City of Surrey being the jurisdiction, the municipal jurisdiction over which has overriding control, we have to be very careful here because they don't tell us how to do our business. We don't tell them how to do their business. So we have to be very sensitive to the fact that this is actually their development corporation. It's their zoning. It's their process by which they go through. Now, how this all intertwines can become very complex. At this point, I would wait for a response, the modeling, those sorts of things to appear. And I think that if we do, haste could make waste. We might end up finding that they do what we've asked. And why are we being premature? So let's let the process go through at this point in time and see at the end of the day where we get to, and then we can make motions according once we get the information.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Thank you. This morning I had a site visit by the fellow of the delegation, and he filled me in on a few things. And one, I just want to bring up to speed, Councillor Arneson, they've actually shut the plant down, but they're still running the kettle. Yeah. And the door was wide open. And he showed me pictures of the white dust that comes off. And he also showed me that the prevailing winds are northeast, and it goes right over three of the biggest food distribution buildings in that area. And when he came here as a delegation, today he opened my eyes, and I've had an experience with having a cutting torch, cutting galvanization, and that's not good stuff. And if you start throwing it in the air, so I don't. we send a letter. You know, I think that even though it's in Surrey, you know, Langley's going to get the brunt of it if they don't go down to zero emissions. And, you know, I think that we should keep on the ball a little bit. You know, I don't see any reason. I think we should send a letter and tell them that, hey, let's, you know, we got to keep on this because it's a very important issue and it's not good stuff to be putting into the air, floating around three of the biggest food distribution companies in the Western Canada. Anyhow, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fox.
Okay, Council, maybe through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Davis, then why is this person not going to the City of Surrey Council and making the point very clearly to the City of Surrey? Then why has it become our jurisdiction over the City of Surrey's jurisdiction?
I see what you're saying there, but
I have to say,
the coal train, and I can tell you every time the coal train, it's 100 degrees in Cache Creek, you should see the crap that comes out of our coal train.
Fair enough.
yeah,
It's just,
but I just bring that up. I mean,
I know, but I'm the one sucking the lungs.
yeah.
And the railroad, they're not sucking the crap.
yeah, fair enough. I think the question
But
was.
the City of Surrey
that's a big
needs
issue.
to, I feel that, you know, he's coming to the city, to the Township of Langley from the City of Surrey to make his point to you, but why isn't he going to the City of Surrey, Mayor of the City of Surrey, and making the point to the Mayor of the City of Surrey and her council members? The second thing I want to point out.
Go to the two Metro reps here at Langley because he wants to get to Metro.
Well,
Okay, that's fair enough.
He's trying
So
everything.
I think the question was
yeah,
answered.
as I said,
It's jurisdictional.
this is a very complex thing, and Metro Vancouver has names on there, but Ray Rob does not work for Metro Vancouver. Okay. The second thing, one of the plants is already identified as zero emissions, correct?
Oh, I don't know.
They haven't built it.
Yes. One is already identified as having zero emissions. So we need clarification on that as well.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Arneson.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to bring some of these points forward later in the evening regarding the notice of motion. But further to Councillor Fox's point, I understand that this is taking place in a jurisdiction that's right next door, but we have jurisdiction over the aquifer. It is a shared resource. And I don't understand why we aren't cooperating more. Now, this is something that perhaps is long needed, but if you're looking at something like this, it's going to, I do not personally see any upside for the residents of Brookswood Fernage to have this in their neighborhood when in fact these are very challenging numbers, I would say, at the very least. The number of pollutants has been dropped down a lot, but that was really based on the fact that there was a huge public outcry. But these are going to go over our Brookswood Fernridge aquifer, and I don't think we have enough information to say with any certainty to the residents, not only the current residents, but the ones we're going to be inviting into that neighborhood in the near future based on the new OCP, that we are satisfied that their water supply is going to remain safe for them to drink. So I think it's really important. I don't draw the line between this jurisdiction and that. I look at a shared resource and say that we have to work together to make a better conclusion.
Any further discussion? So now let's wrap up. I do draw the line. This is not a jurisdiction. I think there has been due diligence done by our council, by our staff, and we're waiting for some information. This is a Surrey jurisdiction, and certainly they have to go through their processes, and Metro Vancouver's jurisdictional air quality. This isn't 1917, this is 2017. Certainly there are regulations in place. I prefer this to go through what's already been started and wait for those answers, so I won't be supporting this. I will now call the question. The motion was Councillor Richter's motion. No, there was no defer.
There was a referral from council.
No, it didn't. I didn't.
Oh,
I thought we.
sorry.
I didn't take it. I thought we were on to the main one. I didn't think there was deferral. The motion.
Someone wants to second it. I mean, it's deferred till we hear back on the meeting.
Second.
So we're going to defer this because.
But whether we write a letter? We're going to defer
No, whether.
the letter until we find out when the meeting is.
Okay, so that's
and
news to me. I
we
didn't have that.
Responses.
Okay, so you're moving deferral. Councillor Fox is seconding it. So now open up that one. on deferral. Councillor Long.
So, Your Worship, good points have been brought up by everyone on council here. We are concerned. The wind does come our way. We should all be concerned. But we've taken action. The letter was only sent Friday. So, I mean, if we are waiting on the response from the Metro, staff have heard the discussion. You yourself have heard it. Councillor Fox, who I think is on the committee that deals with this, perhaps. Some phone calls ought to be made if this motion passes, saying that we deferred further action until we hear back from you, but we better hear back from you quick. And I think there's a lot of questions that have been asked here, and a lot of eye-opening, from some councillors, and there's lots more information that needs to be shared so that we can get this thing dealt with properly. So I would say that the deferral is okay as long as we keep in touch with them and find out when this meeting is going to be held.
Thank you. Councillor Qualley.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Long. This letter was sent Friday. It's Monday at 5. I mean, of course, we haven't heard back yet from them. I think that they do, by nature of this letter, advising them that it was a council resolution, understand that it is important to us that we get some more information. So I won't support the motion to send another letter. I think we need to give them an opportunity to respond to the original.
Councillor Fox.
Yeah, just for clarification, I'm not on any committee that deals with this. Air quality is dealt with at a separate level. It is not dealt with by any committee at Metro Vancouver under any circumstances. It is Ray Robb works at arm's length, and his department work at arm's length from Metro Vancouver and staff at Metro Vancouver. I was informed about that structure when I originally brought this to the attention of Mr. So at Metro Vancouver, and he said the issue is Mr. Robb's, but I don't have, he does not have control over Mr. Robb. Mr. Robb has his own jurisdictional guidelines to work from.
Councillor Whitmarsh.
As identified by the Ministry of Environment.
Okay, thank you.
This is, I don't think the deferral is necessary. This letter was just recently sent out. We haven't got a response yet. I don't think we need to make a suggestion for another letter already. I think we have to wait till we get the information, and therefore I won't support the deferral, and I won't support writing another letter until I have information.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'll call the question on the deferral. Are we clear on that? HI 1. And the deferral fails. Councillor Fox, Councillor Arnott, Councillor Whitmarsh, Mayor Froese, and Councillor Davis opposed. So we're back to the main motion. And see any further discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, call question. The main motion. Ms. Bauer, can you please read out the main motion?
The main motion reads that a letter be sent to Metro Vancouver stating Council's objections to the issuing of air quality permits for the Weir EBCO due to unanswered questions regarding public health and safety.
Thank you. The question is called. And the motion fails with Councillor Fox, Councillor Whitmarsh, Mayor Froese, Councillor Qualley, Councillor Long opposed. Is there any other business? Yes. Councillor Richter.
Yes, a couple of items. One, we got the Metro Vancouver schedule of remuneration and expenses, and it seems to me there's an inequity between what Councillor Fox is being paid and what Councillor Long is being paid.
We're going to give Councillor Fox a raise.
Councillor Long's getting double the money that Councillor Fox gets, and I'm wondering how come there's such an inequity?
Because he's just so much better. He's on what are you, chair of a committee or two? So with the chair, there's usually there's conferences they go to and they get remunerated. So I think I can speak for Councillor Long because I know he's been on a couple of conferences.
Two things I attended for like 2 weeks, so that's why.
And you get paid double. No, just kidding. It's the workload. That's generally how it works. It's basically it's number of meetings and being a chair.
He's got $7,000 there in expenses anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't that the conferences? Like,
No.
why does he get double the money that Charlie gets?
It's to do with the amount of meetings he attends. It's all based on if everybody gets equal. Councillor Long, Councillor Fox. When I go to meetings, we get paid equal per diems. There is no difference in per diems. It's the amount of meetings. And we're being a chair of a committee also it requires more meetings. And does chair get? Does it chair, vice chair? No, it's the same. You get the same. So, yeah. It's to do with the amount of workload. It's not to do with the one gets paid more per meeting than the other. It's
Well,
workload.
it doesn't seem fair to me. I think it's wrong. The other item that I wanted to bring up, I got in my council package this week a proposal from an individual in the community regarding, I guess, expansion of the Pioneer Marker program. And I'm wondering if we could refer this to the Heritage Advisory Committee. As well, I would also like the Heritage Advisory Committee to take into consideration First Nations markers in this program as well. I think there should be equal recognition of First Nations contribution to the community.
I believe that's also in our distribution from April 20th on Pioneer Marker Program, item number 7, page 9. So we could refer to that. That's all
I'll move
connected,
referral of
sure.
this and First Nations recognition to
Is there a seconder
Heritage
to the referral?
Advisory.
Councillor Arneson seconds. I'll call any discussion on the referral. Call the question on the referral. So what are we looking at? We're into I2. Okay. That carries unanimously.
Okay, and the last thing I had, in the items on table today, there's 2 with regards to item 4 and item 5, with regards to the new outhouse that's been put into the Forest Hill Park. And I see that Mr. Neufeld has responded to them on Wednesday last week, explaining that there's going to be screening around this and so on. But I'm just wondering, is there another location in that park that it could be put in that's maybe not right in somebody's backyard or right next to somebody's backyard?
I don't know. Mr. Tillamello?
I think the issue is specifically with servicing it. This is the most appropriate place to place it, which would allow trucks to come up to the road and to service it on a regular basis. I believe that Al Neufeld has looked at other locations in the park and deemed that this is the location that it should be in.
Okay. So they seem to be understandably quite upset about potential odor, and I guess rightfully so if it's right beside their fence, their backyard fence. Is there going to be an effort to pay particular attention to servicing frequently and using some sort of odor masker? Or
Yes, I believe that El Neufeld also stated that there would be regular maintenance of it on a regular basis. That would be a part of that process. But he also let me know that the odors are not horrendous. They're very well contained within the facility itself, and there's very little that emanates outside of the door of those facilities. So with regular service and maintenance, it could be kept to a minimum, and that would be the focus, I believe, of Parks operations.
And what about
staff.
fly problems?
Again, I believe it's very contained. It's not an open system that flies get in. It's treated. It's very much self-contained. So I don't believe there will be flies.
Okay.
More from other animals in the park than this.
Okay. If this does prove to be a problem as summer progresses for these people, do we still have the option of moving it at a future point?
I believe the structures are very much portable, and that there would be some involvement in the foundation or the pad on which it's located. Okay. So, I mean, that could be an option. That
it could be moved then if it's...
Could be, but not recommended.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Fox, I got my mic back on.
Oh, no, nothing on Woody's.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No, I have another issue. Is that okay?
As long as it's less smelly.
No, this one's not smelly. Just we got a bit of time, so I thought I'd bring it up now rather than tonight. Through you, actually, I talked to Mr. Zwag last week, and I forgot to bring it up at that time. So maybe through you to my colleagues on council. My concern is the egress onto 24th Avenue from 264th eastbound. A couple of years ago, I brought this up, and I'd like to bring it up again because no remediation was done. I realize this is a transportation of highway, but if you're turning right or left onto 24th eastbound, on the south side, there's no culvert. On the north side, it's very protected. On the south side, there's no culvert and no road extension. So if you drove there, and actually Mr. Zweig and I looked at it, if you drove there, you'll see where a lot of cars have gone off. It's a very, very tight corner to make, and it needs to have a one culvert extension put onto it. So I don't know if you want me to make a notice of motion, or if we could just make a motion here requesting a letter be sent to the Ministry of Transportation when they're doing their upgrades on Highway 13, that they consider an addition of a culvert and accompanying apron on the south side of the 24th Avenue entrance exit off of Highway 13.
Sure, I think it's just a letter. We can take that. We can entertain that motion tonight. So if you're going to make that motion,
I'll make that
okay.
motion. Could you
seconder?
get it?
Councillor Long seconds it. And did you want to take some time to write down the motion? Ensure that we have it.
Well, a letter be sent to the Ministry of Transportation with respect to the intersection of 24th Avenue and 264th, that on the southeast side, culvert extension be put in position and the accompanying apron be upgraded for safety purposes.
That work, Mr. Backen? Okay, any discussion on that, Councillor Long?
Yeah, if staff are okay with that, but I'm also very concerned about the other end. I don't want to dilute the situation, but I brought it up before. Right now at 264th and the freeway, it's backing up a long way down Highway 13 now, and I don't know if there's any solution in sight. Every day there's another accident there, which we heard again this morning on the radio. But this would be probably a separate letter or a separate something, but maybe staff could get back to us and let us know. It would be awful to see all these millions put into working on the freeway and not doing something with 264th, which is Highway 13.
So we'll deal with this one. But I believe there is, with the Mr. Backen, with the highway improvements that have been recently announced. Yeah. Okay.
So maybe I could ask your worship that we did send a letter saying to add 264th to it. Have we had any response? Maybe that's the question. Maybe.
Correct, your worship, letter sent, no response today.
Okay, so we're waiting on that.
So let's wind that up. We'll send another letter away.
We'll wait. Yeah, we'll wait to hear from the other one. That's the process tonight. Okay, any other discussion?
Termination.
No, we got a motion here on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Got a vote. I call the question. Push the buttons. Yeah, okay. And that carries unanimously. And Councillor Fox, yeah.
I do have one other Highway 13, and this is a question maybe through you to Mr. Seffi. 2 or 3 years ago, I brought up the intersection of Highway 13 northbound and Robertson Crescent, and requested consideration of a left turn lane onto Robertson Crescent. That was shortly after the individual from Glen Valley had been killed and rear-ended by some dump truck or something at that intersection. Do we ever hear back from them on that? Because it's extremely dangerous when you want to make a left onto Robertson Crescent, and they're doing these improvements in that area. Why can't they just do the bit and make an appropriate left turn bay? Can you?
Your Worship, we're in constant dialogue and communication with ministry staff. However, I don't recall specifically if there's been a response at that particular intersection. Staff can follow up. And
yeah? Okay, thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Is there any other business? Councillor Davis moves termination. Councillor
Second.
Councillor Fox seconded it. All those in favour? Show of hands. Opposed? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We will come back at 7 o'clock for the evening meeting.